What is going on, y'all? It's your girl D Green 2.0 and welcome back to my channel. Thanks for rocking with me. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, hit that notification bell. That way you can be notified whenever I upload a video. And please hype me up. Okay, hype me up. Now, I usually kick it off with whatever I did over the weekend or over the week, and I really didn't have a grand week or weekend. I just went to a kid's birthday party. And then, went to Costco, picked up on some good finds. They had Vita Coco on sale, and so I have to go back because I'm almost out. And this way I can stock up because I love me some coconut water. Yeah. So tonight's episode, I'm just gonna go ahead and say I was very disturbed and disappointed with our grown lady. Our grown woman, I say, Angela. It's not at the 5-minute mark, so I'm not going to use explicitives right now. But WTF, Angela. WTF. Like, seriously. And Shamia, continue to stand on business. I like that you bring receipts. I like that you stood your ground. I like that you didn't necessarily need an audience or garnered, like, support to stand your ground with Angela. Kind of did that on your own. If they chose to surround you and step in, that's on them, but you weren't seeking it. But yeah, tonight was just not, Angela, we're not gonna waste no more time. Let's just go ahead and get into it, okay? So, the name of the episode is called Kilts, Chaos, and Reads. Now, I have been trying that method of taking notes per lady, but this time around, I went through the whole episode, so it's not going to have ladies with their own paragraphs. I literally have 2 pages because we're going to get into that, okay? If you haven't seen it, buckle up. But if you have seen it, you understand my disappointment and my sentiment, right? All right, anywho. So the ladies start out heading to the airport. You know, they're going to go to Scotland. And while they were walking through the airport, I was like, oh, God. Damn airport. Side note, if you live in Atlanta or if you've traveled through the Atlanta airport, you understand why it's annoying. I actually have to go there in the next few weeks myself because I'll be going to California for a week. So I'm not looking forward to navigating through that airport. But anyway, so they get there and they're all checking in. Pinky almost left her bags because she's so used to having her man around to drag him around. I do miss that. I do miss that, but I'm not trading peace just for convenience. Anyway, so Pinky says that the group needs to file a group bankruptcy because there's a lot of fractures within a group. I should say, not raptures. And then oh yeah, Portia. I forgot. Portia said that her and Phaedra, they share traders in common. Phaedra said she had a very different experience because Phaedra, I think, made it to the end or close to the end, and Portia got booted off the first week. So yeah, very different experiences, but nonetheless a shared experience. And so they thought they would want to share Scotland with the ladies, and I think it was a beautiful trip. It's different. It's different. It's not somewhere you would typically find Atlanta ladies. And my late husband, I told you guys he's from Scotland, and he would always tell me why he wanted to live in Georgia and why his dad selected to move to Maine because he was raised in Maine, because it reminded his father and him of parts like the backcountry roads of Scotland. So while the ladies were driving through the roads, I was thinking about that, playing it back what my husband said about Scotland. So I was like, oh yeah, I can see that. All the green and the dirt roads, different from California. When it's just desert, or city life when it's just buildings and stuff. But anyway, so they get there and they run into Mr. I think his name was Torgy. He is a social media influencer, a Black Scot. I guess there's no guess. There was a trend last year where there were a lot of Black Scots on the social media, and Torgy was one of them, and all the ladies were fawning over him. I mean, I can't blame them. That man was fine. Phaedra said he reminds her of Sterling Cooper dripped in chocolate, and I'm like, Sterling is not vanilla, he is chocolate. So I think she was just nervous and just saying something in the confessional. But yeah, he was fine. Kay said in her confessional she called him an African American man because the producer asked her does he remind you of your ex Idris? Because we all know that K. Michelle dated Idris Elba. And then Kay said, no, he don't remind me of no Idris. He's a fine African-American man, but he's no Idris. And the lady was like, the producer was like, he's Scottish? And she said, black is black. We are all the same. No, we're not, Kay. No, we are not. But that tells me I do need to go to Europe, though. Find me a different type of black man. So that might be on my travel plans for the next few years. Because, yeah, nice pickings over there. But anyway, so Shamia, well, they all get there, and Phaedra and Portia, they have to tour the house with Torgy. He's like their host or whatever. So he takes them to, so they can walk around and look at all the rooms, and he can show them the quarters. And then the other ladies, they are, I guess, going to have like a little nosh before they venture off into their own little thing before they go to dinner later. So they're all sitting at the table. And then Pinky announces that Shamia got the part. Everybody celebrates for her. Good for you, Shamia. Strike one. Angela comes in. I think we should all make a cameo, Pinky. Yeah, we passed 5 minutes. Bitch, what? Like, Angela, let her have that for a minute. God, always like... So anyway, so Angela says that Pinky says in confessional that auditions are closed. I was just like, good gracious. So they talk about Phaedra being Kelly's lawyer, and then Kelly, you know, she's kind of giving them a little bit of insight as to what she's dealing with, but she says that when she's Googled what comes up about her at that time, the first thing that comes up is HOA TPO, temporary protective order. And she just says that she doesn't feel comfortable being vulnerable around the group because this is the type of group that throws things back in your face. I mean, yes, that is one of the ingredients of being a housewife. But I understand, even though you may know how to play the game, because like I said, I didn't watch last season, but I did stay, you know, engaged with other content creators. And from what I gathered, Kelly could hold her own when it came down to that. So now, given everything she's dealing with, I do understand that there are some days where you just don't want to deal with stuff. Like, your bucket can only take so much when you're going through trials and tribulations. And I will say this about Kelly. Kelly, I've said this before, Kelly's been dealing with a lot, and 2025 was not a good year for me. So I can definitely understand the sentiment, the emotions, the pressure, everything she felt during the time she was going through all of this transition, being by herself, and then having to balance all of the financial responsibilities after having a partnership, and then taking on new responsibilities, and then being hit with like legal things. That's a lot. That's a lot. And I want anybody that's watching me or in the universe, if you stumble across this video, you tell me if you can walk that shit like a cakewalk. And then we could, you know, we could talk about it, because you got to give Kelly that grace. You have to. And I know she's on the show and, you know, well, she knows what she signed up for. Yeah, but damn it, we've seen a lot of these women, when they're dealing with things, how they snap. We've seen Portia snap. We've seen Phaedra snap. We've seen Cynthia snap. Y'all need me to go through some seasons? Okay, Portia, when she was going through her divorce with Cordell, she was going off in season 6. Had the fight with Kenya at the season 6 reunion. Phaedra, when she was going through her shit season 7 with Apollo, almost hit Kenya with her purse, was snapping. They showed the snippet of the scene tonight in tonight's episode. Cynthia, when she was going through her shit with Peter, season 8, kicked the shit out of Portia in the baby door. You see what I'm saying? So it happens. So it's like, let's give Kelly grace and allow for her to process her shit, because that's heavy. And then when you have the responsibility of children and their livelihood on your back, and then you have an ex that is very contentious and seems like he wants to make your life a living hell, again, go through it yourself and then tell me if it's a cakewalk for you. Anyway, so somehow after Kelly says that, Angela inserts herself and says, well, we can't say that because I'm the most underrepresented in this group and I don't look for people to come in and save me. This is retorting to Kelly saying, like, I don't feel comfortable bringing up myself because it's going to be thrown back in my face. And yeah, Angela, again, that wasn't the time for you to bring up it being about you. Because if you step outside of the race, because that's what it seems like with Angela, she's always on. It's always housewives mode. And that's how you know, anyway, I'm not even gonna get into that, but you gotta learn how to turn it on and off, get into the art and science of being a housewife, because you end up looking like how Angela looked like tonight. If y'all can't tell, I'm so disappointed in Angela because I was bigging her up. She can turn it around if she accepts accountability and humbles herself, and maybe something will come out in later episodes or at the reunion where she can redeem herself. But as of now, given the expectation and how I viewed her and how she acted tonight, yeah, Angela's dropped really low on my list. Really low. So anyway. So, and she said that no one chimes in for her. So then I think it was Shamia or one of them said that Drew actually does chime in for Angela because she's always, and what they're meaning by like, okay, Angela will say something, then Drew will give like a look of the eye or nod her head or whatever. So it could be nonverbal and verbal, but she's always backing Angela up. And then Drew says, no, that's not the case. I mean, we may have each other's back, but I don't always have to step in and defend Angela. I mean, one could say she's right, one could say she's wrong. It just depends on your point of view. But, Kelly says, well, that's not true that, because I backed you up. You can't say no one backed you up because I backed you up last year at the Williams-Sonoma event. I didn't watch last season, but I did hear about it where that guy came to Kelly's event and then accused Charles of cheating. And Kelly said that she escorted that guy out immediately once he brought all that stuff to her event about Angela's husband. But then Angela says, well, no, because you also thought that I had something to do with it. Like, to say that I have something to do with it, why would I do that? That's blasphemous. Then Shamia chimes in, well, no, we could also, say, why wouldn't you? Because basically you are prone to shady stuff. And then she brings to the attention of the table how Angela has been asking around about Shamia, investigating, asking people if they have dirt on her, on Shamia. That's very lame. Very lame. However, my light bulb went off for a millisecond. When Shamia said that you've been asking around, it got me to thinking, are you the one that told K. Michelle about all that shit earlier in the season? So, Shamia, you weren't looking as innocent as well, but you were, I would say tonight, you were a little bit more credible than Angela, and you kind of raised up your bar a little bit, but stick with that. That is the energy you always must have in this group. Don't let your guard down. Stand on business. Be confident. And have your receipts, just like you did tonight. So, yeah. Yeah, I already talked about that. Oh. And then Shamia tells the group that at her job, because, she's affiliated with the NBA, people have brought it to her attention that Angela, because Angela is also affiliated with the NBA by way of her husband, that she has been asking, like probing. And so that's like, putting Shamia off. It would put me off too. Like, why your grown ass want to know so much about me if you don't like me? It's looking weird. Why don't you just organically have issues with me? Why you got to play dirty? Anyway, so George, Angela's neighbor, and the guy that was in the office with Shamia when she was having that conversation with the lawyer in the rum company with the green beard, that is George. Basically, Angela tries to gaslight Shamia and say that it's in your head, try to make her look crazy in front of the group. Yeah, I caught that. Now you're trying to insult mental health? Oh, Angela, you just hitting low. You're getting lower and lower. It's not even fun anymore. It's not even grown lady clever anymore. Now it's just mean-spirited, immature, and downright fucking evil. And pathetic. The depths you are going to to do whatever hell it is you're trying to do. I don't know if you're trying to maintain your spot. I don't know if you're just trying to come off as MVP, maintain the reputation that you gained last year and the fan favoritism that you gained last year. I don't know if that's what you're trying to do, but that's not the way to go about it. I really hope she looked at this episode and saw herself, and she could be angry at Shamia because of Shamia approaching her daughter at the Bailey Bowl. But even that, like, I can't even use that as a justification to do what you're doing because you're hitting low. You were just a part of a alleged scam last season to for your husband to be accused of adultery. So your marriage was attacked. So why are you attacking marriages? And then you also said earlier in the season that Pinky had a woman in the basement. Now, what came out about Pinky tonight, I wouldn't doubt that. However, the way you just coming out and throwing shit and throwing bodies on people, Angela, I need to see some proof, and you don't have proof. And the way it was revealed that how you lied, you're not gonna have proof. You're not gonna produce anything because it's a strategy for you, not a well thought out strategy, but it's a strategy for you to character assassinate and try to ruin the reputations of marriages. Anyway. So she throws on the table that allegedly George and Shamia slept together because she asked Shamia outright, did you fuck George? And how she got here, y'all, I cannot make this up. She said that they were having a conversation about Shamia, and it came down to George saying Shamia was so fine because he gave Shamia some money. She made it sound like it was salacious. No, it was George donating money to Shamia's cancer event. And then Angela says George said, oh, well, she's so fine, I had to just give her some money. So how do you deduce that he said he slept with her because he gave her money for a charity? Because I'm sure either you didn't probe more to find out the context of how the money was given, or you just lying. Y'all, let me take a sip because my mouth has been dry at 17 minutes and I'm already just bragging on how disappointed I was at Angela. That's pretty much the crux of this episode for me. It's just, that's the main point, is seeing Angela in a different light. And she went out really bad and she looked very sad. Thank you, y'all. Pardon me, I had to take a sip. So, Cynthia in the confessional says exactly what I just said. Calls out how Angela keeps adding bodies to Shamia's roster with no receipts. And then Pinky for the win for me. She says, dang, if you weren't playing so much, keeping up with what's going on with Shamia's vagina, you'd have Fangela in the stores already. Hello? That's what I'm talking about. Pinky didn't already fucking wrote a book about some shade you threw on her this season. And even if it was for shits and giggles, the fact that she was productive with it, she raised a good point. Anyway. So, okay. So then, now this I won't not 100% agree on because that is something that we have to pay attention to. So Shamia was defending her case at the table about how, Angela keeps coming after her and trying to pin things on her, saying that she's causing division in the group. And then Cynthia said, no, she wasn't the only one that brought that up. We all felt that. And the reason we feel that is because if you're out of sorts or in disagreement with the group, so are girls that are affiliated with you, i.e. Pinky, i.e. Kelly, and i.e. K. Michelle. And, one can say that there could be some validity to that because the consistency across the board, coincidence? I don't know, but we'll see at this reunion, hopefully. So, okay. Kay points this out in the confessional. I wish she would have said it in the scene because this was freaking 1000% true. She says, funny. If any of the other women were accused of sleeping with a married man, it would be a problem. But let Shamia be accused. Everybody just wants to brush it under the rug, basically saying that, you know, they treat Shamia like shit, like she's a secondary person, like her issues don't matter. And I see it. Like, Shamia, if you're going to be on the show, you see it for what it is. Don't continue to believe in people when they show you who they are. And we've all been guilty of it, right? Our hearts will be so big and we'll want to extend love and extend ourselves to people. And even if they are shitty or show us like, bad traits of their character, we still want to give them a benefit of the doubt. But once it comes down to them now constantly hurting you because they fail to see the error in their ways when it comes to you, you cannot continue to soften the blow for them. You kind of got to give them the same energy they're giving you. And if you lose them, you're meant to lose them because those are not the people that are supposed to be in your village. Relationships are reciprocal. What people expect from you, they should also give to you. And they shouldn't treat her like she's a secondary person. But this is why you got to stand on business consistently and rise up like you did tonight, Shamia, because people are also going to treat you the way you allow them to treat you. So, yeah. So, they all convened to their rooms after having that little nosh. And this is when it got a little crunk more. And I really saw Angela show her ass some more, trying to gaslight and deflect and get loud. So, Shamia, Pinky, and Kelly go into Shamia's room. Or I think Shamia's room. I forget. And they're sitting. And Shamia shows them a text message between her and George's wife, Ashley. Okay? And in the text, I didn't have it verbatim, but basically Ashley is saying that Angela was lying. And Angela says that, no, I wasn't lying because I didn't say she said it. I said it. It doesn't matter how you spin it, Angela. You are not being truthful. And she was trying her best. Like, I was watching her. I said, oh, you got to watch people like that. Very manipulative and calculated. And when they're pinned up against a wall, instead of just coming out and being honest, they want to save face so bad, they will start doing whatever it takes to assassinate you. And this is why I'm glad Shamia had the text message. She calls the lady. Angela heard them in the room and got mad and wanted to get aggressive with Shamia. Like, she was the aggressor. Shamia was just like, get out of my room, get the fuck out of my room, slam the door. Angela's in the hallway with the door closed on her, talking shit, and they're talking shit to her, laughing, basically mocking her because she's making a mockery of herself. I would be doing the same thing with my friends. I would be talking so much shit. Like, why you saying that? I'd just be fucking with them because at that moment you have power. If you're going to sit here and get so ridiculous and we're enemies, gloves are off. Because if you get physical, then that's on you. But now it's a battle of wits. So I'm going to piss you off too. And I just thought that was so funny. Pinky walks out of the room with some sort of plastic something, a plant that's supposed to be a version of an olive branch. Because I guess Shamia walked up to Angela with an olive branch last season. And she said, oh, I'm coming out with this olive branch. And Angela's like, get that fake ass shit out of my face. And just real hostile. That's how you know she was guilty, because she's so hostile. When you're honest and you have nothing to prove and you don't have lies to keep up with, you keep your composure. I've learned this in my 42 years. Pay attention to body language and how people respond to their part in conflicts. And that'll tell you enough of what you need to know about the type of person they are. If a person can't be accountable in the moment when you bring something to them, or they try to deflect, then fuck them. That's all I say. Fuck them, because you don't have time to be trying to dance with manipulative mindsets. You don't have time to be dancing with or trying to converse or level with people who can't see you. They only see them. So, Shamia, keep at it. Keep at it. So then Portia, her and Phaedra, because at this point they're still torn and they're unwinding. They haven't really been a part of it. They hear the mess. They come out, they go into the room with Angela, and Angela, with something to prove, calls Ashley. And when she calls Ashley, she did herself no favors because Ashley further made her look like she was a fucking liar. She did. Even Portia, there was a part in the scene where Portia did like this with Phaedra's leg, like, did you catch that? And because they could see flat out that Angie's full of shit. She's lying. Caught red-handed. And like I said, she comes off more guilty, and I put, oh, Angela sad face. So next scene, they're getting ready to go to dinner. Everybody's coming down to the meeting area, the common area, so that they can all get into their vehicles. Everybody looked good, but if I had to pick my favorite outfit, it would be Portia's, Phaedra's, and K. Michelle's. K. Michelle, you bad. Speaking of bad, that new confessional look you got with that blonde wig, them red lips, and that black suit. A woman after my heart. I love a red lip. I love black. Haven't done blonde hair yet. Haven't reached that part. But Kay, you look good. That's why it saddens me that you want to continue to get surgery, because it's like I said before, she's probably one of the best looking women on the show. But anyway, so on the way to dinner, they had 3 cars, 3 women per car. You had Phaedra, Portia, and Angela in the car together. Then you had Shamia. Damn, I can't remember. I think it was Shamia, Kelly. Oh, and Pinky. Then you had Cynthia, Drew, and it doesn't even matter. Because the main car I was focused on was Portia, Phaedra's, and Angela's. Because even in the car on the way to dinner, Angela is still trying to perpetuate a lie to save face. She is still trying to convince them that Shamia is wrong or taking it out of context or being delusional. It ain't working, Angela. It's not working. Because Phaedra and Portia have been at this for a long time. And they have discovered that you are lying, but they're just going to continue to let you talk so that they could hear more of it. And they're not going to validate you. They'll make you feel like they're validating you by, giving you neutral responses and responses of, positivity, neutralizing the situation. They kept saying, we're going to elevate, keep it high tonight. But girl, they see you're lying. So then because she can't get them to fall in line with that lie, then she brings up what happened at the Bailey Bowl last week when Shamia said to Angela's daughter, oh, you're so much more nicer than your mom or something like that. Manipulative. Let her have it because we're going to address all the issues, but I see what you're doing, Angela. You don't want to take responsibility for what you did and how you're looking. So what do? You bring up a sore spot. You bring up children because most of the women in the group are mothers. I think all of the women are mothers, right? Yeah, all of the women are mothers. So of course they're going to be sensitive to you bringing up children because they even said it at the dinner table. Children and marriages are off limit. So you knew what you were doing. You brought in something that was common for you all to agree on. So that way it could eliminate the whole priority of the first issue is that you are lying on Shamia badly too. So anyway, yeah, Pinky, Shamia, and Kay, they were in the car together because they actually ended up getting to the dinner table first before all of the ladies. And at the table, they then had an opportunity to bring up how Shamia didn't like that Pinky raised attention on the issue that her and Kay had, that Shamia and Kay had, because she felt like that was something that shouldn't be discussed in the group because that's Shamia's problem. She doesn't like that everybody has to rally around to settle groups where settle beefs with people where it should be one-on-one. And I agree with that. Like, depending on what it is, if it's not group impacting, if it's just between the individuals, let them hash it out. But I do agree with Kay on this, because Kay didn't back down. She said the reason I brought it up is because it's something that hurt me, and I don't like that. Yeah, you say I've been your friend and you're my friend, but you keep reminding me of the cost, and I don't want to hear that all the time. And she's right. Don't make it seem like you're doing me any fucking favors. I ain't in the business of keeping people that don't want to be kept. And if your relationship comes with a chore and me having to feel like it's the best thing that's ever happened to me and I need to work harder for it than you do, then unfortunately, this is where we part. Because again, relationships are reciprocal. So Shamia did cop to that, and she accepted responsibility and said she won't do it again. She won't bring that up to her. And I like that. Grown woman, settled, straight to the point, honest, transparent, and we moving on. Hopefully. Let's not hear about this again. So anyway, so all the other ladies meet up at the table, and Portia asked Pinky if she did her job, because I guess they had an agreement off camera where Pinky would try to settle issue with Kay and Shamia. Portia was supposed to do something. I don't know if it was with Drew or something. I don't know what her part is. But what I like about Pinky is bitch, you ain't gonna put me on the spot. No. No. She's like, did you hold up your end of the bargain? Like right in her face with it, and Portia crickets. Oh, I didn't get time to. Girl, stop. But that's a lighter issue of tonight's episode. I'm not even gonna get on Portia about that, because Portia did okay in this episode. So they say Pinky is a good facilitator. I'll agree with that, because Pinky, like she said before, she has masculine energy just like feminine energy. The masculine comes in when you're direct, you get right to it, and you just want to have solutions to problems. So I like that she's doing that. And then Pinky says she's good at that because working on Ayala Fix My Life and the Maury Povich show taught her how to deal with unhealed people. Mm-hmm. Now, while I can identify them, I don't do well with unhealed people. Because I myself have been through so much trauma because I've been around unhealed people all my life. I don't do well because then my patience wears thin, because it's like I already see the behaviors, I know how they're impacting your life, the people around you, so I don't have the bandwidth to put up with bullshit. I don't. Because you'll find with unhealed people that they seem to think that their problems, the sun sets and rises on their problems, and that no one else has problems or no one else is deserving of the same type of understanding and consideration as them. Okay, yeah, you may have cut your finger and this person may have, went into debt, but at the same time, who are you to say that your problem is bigger than theirs, because maybe them cutting their finger was something they hadn't planned on doing that day and it set them back a couple of hours. Can you make room for them? Do you see what I'm saying? So kudos to you, Pinky. Wish I could learn that skill myself. So they all start talking about relationships with women, because Portia, they were asking her, did she ever see herself in a relationship with a woman? Because, she's our resident flower child, our rainbow kid on this, open rainbow kid on this cast. And, Portia was keeping it 100, because I get this. That's why I said I like this for her at this stage in her life, because this is exactly where I am. Portia said, she didn't picture it because she had always kind of had this heteronormative view of what she wanted her life to look like. A man, kids, a family, marriage, all that stuff. But when you think about it in the traditional sense and how we've been wired in society, men only serve to be financial providers. That's all they try to be. I like to think differently, but a lot of men haven't evolved into seeing themselves as that comprehensive male. So now that women are just as independent, if not more independent in some cases, because you got women out here making a lot more money than men, why would you just want to settle on behalf of having heteronormacy in your life. You don't need that. When you can do for yourself, you're open to love anyone. And so let's applaud Portia, because that was some real shit. That was some real shit she said. That's why I tell my girls that are raised by like baby boomer or Gen X moms and have what's the generation before baby boomers? The great generation. When you have those pre-existing archaic views of relationships and life and social dynamics, you try to put that on people, and you have to understand that that's not the world we live in nowadays. The world has shifted so much, and it does not make it ungodly. Trust me when I say that, because I'm not one of those like religious zealous people that, you know, bring that up and throw it in your face. No, I'm more spiritual. So if your heart and your soul is good and your intentions are pure and you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, you're going to have a life of abundance. You're going to have happiness. And so if it comes in the form of you know, have a homosexual relationship, it is what it is. I think a lot more people would be happier if they lived in truth instead of trying to stay rooted in traditions that they probably don't really fully align with in their hearts anyway. All right, so says Portia says she's self-sufficient enough to choose either. I mean, I said a lot, but that's basically what it was. Portia saying she's self-sufficient enough to be open up to both. And so Pinky, which I'm not surprised, and Phaedra, you know, was making her little side comments like, yeah, that's all I knew her to be. Pinky admitted that she was in a relationship with women. In fact, she was in a 3-year relationship with a woman. I don't know when, because there was an interview that came out about her recently regarding Ayala Van Zant's son. So I'm not sure if this was during that time. But yeah, Pinky said, yeah, she was with her, and, you know, it's something that happened internally in the relationship. And it may have been right before Derek, because they did ask, was Derek the cause of y'all breaking up? And she said, no, we had problems before Derek came into the picture. And so they asked her, you know, you were with her for 3 years. Why didn't you marry her? And Pinky admitted, because she said, I like something long and strong. Okay, so then let me say this. Because that's how I used to be. Like, I was in a relationship with a woman when I was in high school, and then I had, you know, I slept around with women in my 20s, and then I did marry a man because I did have that heteronormative, like, view on marriage. But I also, you know, I did like the peen. I did. It's different. The plastic one and the rubber one, it just doesn't hit the same, y'all. I'm sorry. This is why I like both. Because while I love the curves and the femininity and the sensuality and all of that in a woman and the beauty, you know, I do appreciate, you know, the body of a man and, you know, the feeling of a man doing what he does. So, you know, it's just one of those things when you're honest with yourself about how your body responds to certain things that you just partake in. So I understood Pinky when she said that. Drew says her and Ralph dabbled, but she couldn't see herself in a relationship with a woman. That's all I'm going to look on that. I'm not even going to say anything. Cynthia says that she hasn't dabbled. I really don't believe that, Cynthia, because you always perk up, and I cannot remember, correct me if I'm wrong, but I have a faint memory of Cynthia copping to having same-sex relations, only she was the receiver, she wasn't the giver. So, I don't know, Cynthia, I didn't believe you when you say you haven't dabbled. And then she said, I have a fluid child, but that was just something that wasn't for me. So I was like, okay, I just got to take you at what you say, girl. So Shamia says she hasn't dabbled. That's something I don't believe that either. I don't, because part of me thinks her and Portia slept together. I'm just going to say that. I'm just going to say it. And then I think Drew was the one that said, well, Shamia, didn't you kiss Candy in the club? Portia said you kissed Candy in the club. And then Portia was like, bitch, you just ruined the whole mood. And I couldn't tell when Portia said that if she was okay with Drew saying that or upset that Drew said it. I don't know. I was just getting a weird vibe. It was almost like Portia was kind of giving her the nods, like, yeah, call that bitch out type of thing. You know, you can't, when it comes down to Shamia, Portia, and Drew, Portia's energy is always a little ambiguous to me. I can't determine if she is like with the shit or like I'm not in the shit, you know? And then Angela brings up what Shamia said to her daughter at the Bailey Bowl. Everybody's in agreement that kids don't need to be addressed. And then, Angela's saying, I already got stuff going on with my daughter. I don't need you bringing up stuff, planting seeds in my daughter's mind about me. And I can understand that, I get it. I'll give Angela that. Drew in confessional says that Shamia directs her anger for Portia towards other people. So if she's mad about something dealing with Portia, she'll take it out on this person. She'll take it out on that person. I can see a little truth in that, but I really don't think that her issues with the group are tethered to her issue with Portia. She's really having some independent issues outside of her issue with Portia with you women. Y'all are all problematic. Y'all really are. And I hate that y'all got the opportunity to use their friction against them, but Shamia, you brought this on yourself. Now you've learned. Don't do it again. So then Shamia brings up the text from Ashley about Angela. She asked Pinky to read it out loud at the table. Portia's so funny. She says, read it in a country voice, because when I heard her talk, she kind of country. And then Kelly in the confessional says, not Portia directing her how to, and she don't want to be involved, directing her how to actually say the text. So then Pinky reads it. It's a mouthful. It basically, shares that Angela's lying. And so you could see the wave of awkwardness. And like everybody like, oh, don't want to say anything else because cat's out of the bag. They all see it. Kelly saw it already and Pinky saw it already, but now they've all heard it and, And I think Shamia did that so that they couldn't say that she was lying. Because if she would have read the text, even if it's a live receipt, they're going to say, oh, you probably put that in there, and then she'd have to go around and share her phone. Like, it's just, so I understand why she asked Pinky to do it, because it's easier to have one person read it who is not a part of the issue, because then what you're going to say, they lying? What skin do they have in the fight? They're just reading what they see in front of them. So, Portia, after Pinky read it, says, I need the audiobook. Portia be cracking me up. I will give Portia that. That girl, other than also being fine as hell, she has her funny moments. I will not take her humor away from her. Portia's funny. So then Angela starts gaslighting and deflecting, getting loud, trying to insult Shamia's mentality. It's looking pathetic, y'all. Yeah, you get the sentiment. I wasn't with it. And I put here, my thoughts have changed towards Angela. They have. I've done that before where I thought that, someone was going to really, really like have me on their side, and then episodes progressed. And I'm probably going to do it again. I'm human, because I always try to start out with a clean slate. And if I'm gravitating towards you early on, I vocalize that. But I'm also going to vocalize once you start dropping the ball and showing me things that are fucking ridiculous. Because I wouldn't even talk, like I wouldn't even deal with a woman like Angela in my personal life. Once I saw that she did shit like that, she would be cut off. Because you're liable to fucking try to destroy me in any way possible. And depending on who you influence or impact, their dumbass is gonna run with it. This is why you gotta think for yourself. Because people like Angela could spin a story and manipulate and gaslight, but if you don't use your own common sense, now let me not say common sense, because sense is not common. We all have different upbringings and experiences, so we're not going to see information and convey information the same way. So I'm not even going to do that to society. It's not common sense. But if you don't have your instincts intact to where you don't discern and like start really questioning like what people are saying about other people, then you're just as much of a fool as that person. So like Angela, I wouldn't even fuck with a girl like her anymore. I'd be like, oh no, I'm done with you. You done already showed me enough. So anyway, so last scene. So they go to the room. Can't remember whose room it was. I think it was Portia and Phaedra's little suite. And they were all in the room eating shortbread. And I say that with so much glee because my late husband's family, his mother, his stepmother, she used to always bake us shortbread and send it to us for Christmas. And she would do different flavors. She would do a plain, she would do a lemon, and then she would do a berry flavored one. And she would make it from scratch. And I never got the recipe from her. I should have. I'm not the best daughter-in-law, y'all. I'm not. I am one of those people where if you don't reach out to me and love on me, I don't believe in that hierarchical respectability shit. What you give me is what I give you. You ain't never gonna trap me with tradition or roles. You see what I'm saying? No. But anyway, so they're eating shortbread, and they bring up the blog about Kelly's husband. So this is also around the time where Kelly's husband launched a lawsuit against Bravo for defamation of character, I think it was, because of a lot of the things that Kelly said last season about him. Now, the things she was saying, while they were damaging, they were, because no one wants to be known as a crazy person going off in court and beating you and threatening to kill you and being hauled off to jail because they threatened to kill you and they also fell behind on child support payments. No one wants that to be out about them. But here's the thing. It's like I teach my kid. Don't fucking do things that you can't live with the consequences for. So don't be trying to like use a scare tactic because you don't like the way the world see you. How about not do shit like that? Don't do shit you can't live with. And then, so they text Kelly. She comes in and, they talk to her about it. And Phaedra says, he just did that because he's mad he got paper filed against him, right? And this is around the time where they did all of that in court, because Kelly is trying to film with her daughters and all of that. So it checks out. And Kelly starts breaking down because, she hasn't really talked at length with the group. She hasn't discussed in depth with the group. Maybe Shamia, maybe K. Michelle, and maybe Pinky. But with the group, no. She hasn't told them everything that she's dealing with. So they all see it. And surprisingly, they were all sympathetic towards her. They were all pouring into her. You could feel the emotion. Like, I started tearing up because I saw Drew's face. And I was like, see, Drew's kind of been holding it in too, because Drew was going through a divorce starting like 3 years ago, but it carried into last season. And from what I heard, the cast wasn't really supportive of her either. So this time around, her seeing Kelly get emotional, I guess it triggered her because this is leading up to her and Ralph, who recently did get theirs settled, but they were going through the thick of it during this time. And Drew was real. She was like, I'm glad that we could talk about this because you ladies are my future. Basically what you're dealing with or where you are right now, that's where I'm headed. And to see this, it just breaks my heart. And oh man. That's what I mean by when you can turn off just being a shady ass housewife and be a woman amongst the group, you will find that you have a lot more similarities when you dial down the cattiness. Give us our entertainment because that's what we check in for. I can't sit here and act like I'm a saint because why watch the show, right? But, when you have a chance to settle it or step outside of it for a minute, we enjoy that too. We don't always want to see the toxicity, especially us long-standing fans. Like, I've been a Housewife fan since I was 23 years old. I am now 42. That's how long I've been watching this shit. So, I've gone through the waves of womanhood and maturity. And while I can understand the shadiness involved in conflict and resolution and all of that, I also appreciate the realness in how they handle, like, life events. Like Nene becoming a widow. You know what I mean? Like, at the time when she dealt with it, I couldn't relate, but I can relate now, So it's just nice when they can talk about that stuff because us older housewives, we have grown up with you all, and we do like to see the reality of what you're dealing with. Hint, Phaedra? Or maybe your life is just good. Maybe your life is just good right now. And so, they're all just, talking about how you pick up the pieces and you bounce back. And Cynthia says, you know, she's not where she was 5 years ago, but, you know, she bounced back. And that's true because Cynthia went through a divorce within these 5 years, 2020. And this is 2025, they're filming this. But Cynthia was happy and married. And then, 2.5 years later, her and Mike divorced. And I know that set her back financially. And then the shit with Peter, he set her back financially. That's real. And then, oh my God. Portia and Phaedra. Now, this is one thing I will give them, because I've talked my shit and I've said that Portia and Phaedra, you know, they have their ways about them that are distasteful. But one thing I do appreciate about both of them is they tap into that spirituality and that woman of God bag when they have to, when they start speaking. Portia, for example, you know, when they were all talking about like leaving their home or whatever, Portia said that people mock her for the way her prenup was set up, but she kept that in her mind, you know, because that's where she's building memories with her family, and you know, it's where the family sets their energy. And so she just came hell or high water. If they were going to split up, she didn't want to have to take that away from her daughter. But then she's also accepted that home is in the heart of you and your daughter, so y'all could be anywhere. And that's true, because that's what I said about me and my daughter when we moved. I couldn't live in that house anymore because it was me and my husband's house, and you know, the memories was just too much for me. So I just wanted to make sure I wasn't traumatizing my daughter. And I told her, you know, no matter where we go, home is us. So we could be in a car together, you know, just riding to school. We could be on a trip. We're always going to take home with us when we're together. So I appreciated when Portia said that, because I said, that's real. Home is in your heart. And then, oh my God, Phaedra. I can't remember the exact Bible verse, but the message, because she did this on the girls' trip one, when they went to the Berkshires. She brought that energy to that season. It was season 2 of the Ultimate Girls Trip? I forget what the name of the series was, but the first season, they went to somewhere tropical. Second season, they were at Dorinda's house. Third season, they went to Thailand. And then fourth season, they went to Morocco, but we're not going to get that. But anyway, Phaedra said, one thing I've learned in life is if you have a builder, if you're a builder, you're always going to rebuild. It's never a loss. You're always going to have a life of abundance. And I was like, y'all, I started tearing up, because that's what I say. Never have fear or a scarcity mindset in your heart. You can rebuild, you can restructure, you can pick yourself up, because we are all meant to suffer one way or the other. It's just the bounce back that matters and how you do it. And I had no words. That was a beautiful ending to a shitty ass episode. I love the energy within that group of women, and it was a nice mix, because you haven't seen Kelly hang out with that side. She's been on the side of Shamia, Pinky, and K. Michelle. So to see her with Drew, Cynthia, Phaedra, Portia, it was nice, and I think it was needed. And it left me feeling good. Left me all in my feels. And that was the end of the episode, y'all. So it was a good one. This was a good one. This was a hitter. They're not gonna have a episode next week because it's the 4th of July weekend, but they're expected to return on the 12th, which is my late husband's birthday. Happy heavenly birthday, baby. I'll be recapping this when I go to California, so you'll still see me. All right, y'all, I'm gonna end it so I could finish off my night. You know, I gotta get to work. Oh, y'all want to see the view? I wanted to film. Oh shit, let me turn my ring light. I wanted to film with the window open, but the sunset, just the light clashed too much, so I didn't do it. But yep, that's the view. I love it. I love living in Midtown Atlanta. All right, y'all, with that being said, I'm gonna leave you. Peace and blessings. Bye, y'all.